Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. It is Tessa here at Tessa Scrapbooks. And today we are going to work through the Copper Canyon layout. So this is from Secret Box number 1. It is sold out online. I've sold out. Hopefully you already have your box and you're just ready to make the project. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these go together. I haven't made them yet because I sold through my boxes. I did not have an extra set. I couldn't make these in advance. So we are going to figure out together how these work. I assume and I predict that the cutting guide that we are given, actually we could probably use with another collection. So that's kind of will be phase 2 is after I do this. We'll talk about if we can adapt this to other collections and maybe use the cutting guide to put this together. So what is the secret box? So every quarter Creative Memories is putting out a secret box, and they have started putting in Project Booklet. So they don't actually print the booklet for you. It comes with a card with a QR code, and then you can access the file that way and print out your booklet. So you do have to print this at home. It's not available as a download. And it is the only way to get the directions for the box because it is their content. It's not something that I will post, but you can get that with your box. Also in the secret box came the Copper Canyon paper pack, which we all loved. I know many of us are wishing we could get more of this paper. The box did not sell out, so eventually we will see the extras come out, probably not maybe until the end of the year. I know many have requested that we can see more of it. And then it came with a copper shimmer cardstock. So we've seen copper shimmer. Let me get this open. We've seen copper shimmer along the way. It's been in a couple of samplers. We were able to get packs of it, but people could not get enough of this beautiful tone. So hopefully eventually we will get copper shimmer by itself also. So you should have 5 sheets of that in the paper. And then it came with some layered frame embellishments. All of this has some foiling on it, so it is really pretty. You'll see some of the shimmer of some of the pieces in the light. So we have these frames. They are layered. They do have some dimension to them. There's 4 of them. Those actually don't have foiling on them. I take that back. The foiling is in the regular embellishment. These are also layered pieces. Put those up there. These are the embellishments that are foiled, the regular embellishments that I'm not going to spread all of these out, but you can see how pretty all of these are. And then we have some foiled rub-on transfers. So foil rub-on transfers, I remember these from way back when. There's nothing that I've actually used with, I kind of rejected the concept way back when. But today we're going to try them out. And so because they gave us the rub-on transfers, they gave us another multi-purpose tool. This one is in this teal color that matches the set. So it's pretty. I do like this color scheme. I know many of people are like, do I need a second tool? I don't know about you guys, but I have been through more than one of these in my life. I end up working it to death and the end of it snaps off. So it never hurts me either to have more than one because inevitably one gets lost on my desk somewhere. So these are all of the pieces that we'll be using to work with, and you do need your 12-inch trimmer and you need your tape, but they're pretty simple layouts, so we don't need any punches or anything like that unless you decide to go back later and add these on. So I'm going to make my space a little bit more clear. Oh, the other 2 items in here are the copper clips and the mini cards, and we will come back around to these after we go through our cutting. You can set everything to the side that you don't need, and then we're going to look at what do we need. So for our cut guide, we'll need a piece of the earth texture. So they went through and named all of their paper. If you're ever not sure about the names of your paper, if you're familiar with the website Issue, which Creating Memories actually links to, if you go look at any paper pack online and it has a link to show you the papers in it, it's taking you to a site called Issue. And in that, in the digital concept and the digital kits, they actually name the papers if you want to know. But Earth Texture is this one here on top. And grab a sheet of that. A sheet of the brown distressed metal. For those of you watching or following along, let me know, what are you going to use this collection for? And then I need a piece of copper shimmer. Many of you know I took a road trip out to Colorado last summer. We hit all the national parks, and I know that this collection will be perfect for many of those photos. So maybe the day we went to Garden of the Gods, or down to Great Sand Dunes. And then the designer paper 3 is a teal distressed metal. And I think they're talking about this one. It's a little bit darker than that one. And then we need a sheet of the wood texture. The problem is I will need more than one set of this. So I might have to wait until December to finish my album if I use a lot of this. And then the last one is teal leather, which must be this lighter one that's coming through. So I think that's one sheet of each, except for the striped one. Oh, and this one that we are not cutting. So these must be the base papers. So I'm going to set my extra paper to the side. I do like the nice big pictures of the cutting guide. On the cutting guide, they have each piece, they have the measurements for us. They also have these numbers, so not numbers, letters. You can letter them if you want to grab a small Post-it notes to label each piece. I prefer not to do that. It's just a little bit extra work that I don't want to do. But what I do when I cut them is I will stack them up in each pile for each piece. And so then when I am going to pull the paper, it's easier for me to go to the right pile, what it looks like, and then figure out which measurement piece I want. A lot of these will be pretty easy to differentiate the different pieces. So that's how I do it. But if you want to label them by letter, label them by letter as we go along, you're welcome to do that with some Post-it notes. And then we're going to get into the spreads there. So I can set all this to the side. I just need these 2 sheets for the cutting. This would be good. Judith was saying she's going to use this for old portrait photos of her mom and grandma. I agree that this would work really well with older photos. It definitely does have a classic look. So piece number 1, earth texture. It's kind of hard to cut into this paper. It's probably one of the prettiest ones on there. I'm going to start actually backwards. So it has a skinny little 1/2 inch cut over here. I'm going to cut that first and move my way across the paper that way. So it's going to be 1/2 inch. One thing now that I started cutting, I know, is they have all these extra pieces at the bottom, but they're showing them cut. I suspect these are going to be pieces used for the cards. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut straight, and hopefully I don't regret it, and then cut off the end pieces. The other thing we could do actually is turn it. They want all of these 10.5, so I could cut off 1.5 inches and then chop that piece up too. Either way you do it, you're probably going to have the same outcome. So I'm just going to stick with what I'm doing. I'm going to go to 4.5 now. And then I will cut what's left into 3.5 pieces. Like I said, I haven't done these in advance, so I don't know if this matters or not. But all of these pieces now need to be 10.5. So I need to cut off 1.5. It's always easier for me to cut smaller cuts over here. So I'm going to stack these 2 up and cut them down. Hi, Jenny. So Jenny's with Christy and Sandy. If we had a fan club, I know a lot of you would be in there, but those 3 would definitely be in there. You guys show up for everything. So does Judith, Vicky, see you a lot. We definitely appreciate all the people that follow us around. Sometimes we're like, why? Why does everyone want to see what we're doing? It's entertaining, I suppose. There's a lot of stuff you could watch online. Why not choose scrapbooking, right? Okay, so I have these pieces. You can't see them, but I have them stacked up over to the side. So I'm just going to keep this paper stacked up all together. So when I need to grab one of those pieces, they're right there. And I'm going to move on to my brown distressed metal. And the back side of this doesn't have a direction either. I'm a little, leery. I want to make sure that if there's a direction on the back side that it is denoted and I cut as such. So it looks like I can go ahead and start from the right, move over because it's 5 inches. I'm just trying to avoid lifting my arm if I don't have to. So I'm going to do 5 by 12. And then 3 inches. And then it looks like I'll have 4 inches left and I can cut that in half. Judith, that's true. Judith is saying that she would be the self-appointed president of our scrap club. We should start a fan. What would that look like? Okay, there's 2 inches, and then this last piece I need to cut into 2 pieces, 7 inches and 5. So I'm just going to skip ahead to the 5, and then it will leave 7 left. Amanda, you guys, all the groupies are showing up today. I love it. And I did like Power Hour because I could see your faces on the screen. I mean, the Facebook Live's easier because you don't have to have people like register to show up. But it means I can't see your faces on Zoom, which is quite entertaining. Okay, I'm going to move on here to Copper Shimmer. This is a solid core paper, so they're not calling it a cardstock. It's paper because of the weight, but it is solid core, which means when we cut through, we will see Copper Shimmer and not white. I know that's one thing people love about our cardstock or solid core paper. And yeah, they put the skinny cuts here to the left, so I can start on the left and move over. I have 1.5 inch and then 1 and 1 and then 5 and then 3. So I'm going to start with 1.5 over here. And then 1 and 1. You guys are all my groupies, so you probably know I just got back from Megan's and it has been a struggle. My goodness. There's something about that 3-hour time change mixed in with retreats that is difficult for me. And the time change, because you know what, at retreats, people tend to stay up later. But I'm like, by 10 o'clock out there, I was done, like D-O-N-E, done. And I could feel the onset of it, usually about 9 o'clock, which was like midnight my time. And so I was usually in bed, one of the early ones to go to bed. Okay, so then I have this 3-inch piece left, and I'm going to cut all of these into 2 inches. I'm pretty sure these are coming for the cards later, but we'll follow along. And then the downside of going to bed so early is I would wake up early, like at 4:30 or 5. And so me and another gal that came out of the central time zones, and then another girl out there that is just an early bird, so anyone that normally would get up at 5 or 6 Pacific times, there were usually like 3 of us out there in the morning. And then about the normal 7:30, 8, everyone else would start rolling out. So the other thing Megan loves to make fun of me is my appetite, because I'm like, I'm not a big breakfast person, but by like 8 or 9 o'clock out there, my body thinks it's time for like lunch, real food. I'd always have to like have a substantial breakfast. Okay, teal distressed metal is our designer piece here, and it looks like when we cut these, we're going to be using the reverse side, but the reverse side is just a texture. There's no pattern, so I don't need to worry about messing anything up on the back side. So I have 2 pieces that are 3/4 inch. I'm going to cut the 5 and then cut a strip off the bottom. I'm going to cut a 5 again, and then I'll cut those pieces off. So it's going to leave me a sliver, and that sliver would be, let's see, it's going to be 10, 11.5. So it looks like it's a 1/2 inch sliver coming off. I'm going to go ahead and cut off that sliver. I don't like leaving small cuts for the end. The other thing I've noticed too with the paper, I wonder if I need to change my straight blade. I change my mat a lot, but my paper is starting to bubble or else I'm just more noticed like when I push down. And so I have to be careful that I'm getting a true straight cut, that my paper's not moving with it. So after class, I'm going to change my straight blade and see if that fixes it. I have had the straight blade for a couple of years. They really do last a long time. Okay, so I cut off the 1/2 inch, and so now I can flip back over here. It doesn't matter that I'm flipping cuts on each side of the paper because it's all just a texture tonal. So I need 2 that are 3/4 inch. Two of those. And then I should have 10 inches left, so I just have to cut that in half at 5. One of them needs to be 11, so I just have to cut off 1 inch. I am obviously talking out loud because I'm teaching this, but I talk out loud like this to myself sometimes because I am not very good at following directions. And sometimes I will read something and then my hands want to do different. And so if I say it out loud, then I might have a chance of cutting it correctly. So up here I have 5 inches left, which is true. I'm going to rotate and cut off 4.5. And there's a lot of pressure with this since I don't have a backup with that to make sure I do it right. Okay, 4.5. And then these are 2.5 by 3.5. So the 2.5 is this 5 inch width. And then I need 3.5 this way. Cut 3.5. And then this should be 2.5 and 1/2. Of course, if you do mess up a cut, just keep going. I'm sure that there's flexibility in design and no one is going to know. Yours doesn't look exactly like the booklet. Same thing for here. So I'm going to cut this in half, 3.5. One of them will be extra, and then one of them I need to cut down. I guess I'm cutting that down to 3.5. So what I must have left is going to be bigger than that. That doesn't look right. Okay, it should be. I should have. This is 4 inches. This is 5. Okay, see what I mean? Like I have to make sure. So we want the 5 inch. You should have a 5 inch piece wide, and I need to cut that in half. So we have 2.5 and 2.5. Okay. So this piece, which is actually 4 inches, this is extra. I'm pretty sure it's extra. If it is for the cards, they haven't denoted this, but I think these are the cards too. So I don't know. I'm going to set this up kind of off to the side, not in my pile, because it is going to look similar in size to the other ones, and I don't think I'll need it. I can always find it later. That leaves me 2.5, and then they want it down to 3.5, so I just need to cut off 1/2 inch. And then that looks like it's extra also. Okay, so that's the 4th piece. Got 2 pieces left. Wood texture and teal leather. It looks like for this one they have the wood grain of the paper going horizontally. The back of it is a texture, actually that texture. So I don't think it's going to matter. If you do happen to cut it wrong, it looks like these are all going to stay at 12 inches. I need a 1, 1, 3/4, 3.5, 4.5. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off these small pieces first. Like I said, so 1, 1, and 3/4. So I have the skinny pieces, and then I need 2 larger pieces, 3.5, 4.5, and then what's extra is extra. So I can go ahead and just cut 3.5. And 4.5, and that's going to leave me whatever is extra, which looks like it's not quite 1.5. I think it's 1.25 since I had that quarter cut. 4.5, yeah. So I think this is extra too. So I'm going to go ahead and, again, put this in the I don't think I need it pile. Because it is similar width, I won't have to remeasure to make sure I get my skinnier strips. Okay. Now you do want to make sure in your pile that the wood grain stays up because we're about to cut the back side, which is teal leather. So it looks like here, it looks like I have 4x6 mats, and then these are all 1 inches. This is going to be 3.5, and then we're going to have a little bit of extra left off. But I can cut that off when I get to here. So I'm going to start with my 1-inch strips. I need 4 of those. Welcome to those of you just joining in. Are you watching or scrapping? Do you have weekend plans? Are you guys going to scrap? So when I was at Megan's, I started working on an album. I had power laid out from last year, and I did not get all the way through it. I was very disappointed, but it didn't happen. So I really want to get through it. Okay, pause. I'm going to cut my 4 inches and cut that in half. But I don't know if the weekend's going to allow for like personal scrapping. But I would like to, maybe next weekend. I think I have Saturday free that I can do some personal versus work. You guys get the work side of scrapbooking when I have to do something to show it. Okay, so what do I have left here is over 4 inches. I only want 3.5. So it's going to cut off about a 1/2 inch. Should lined up there. So I think this is in my I don't need it pile. And then I need 3 of them that are 2.5 pieces. So a kind of a mix of scrapping and watching. I'm hoping this afternoon I'm going to go walk when we're done. The sun's coming out. We now apparently get spring in February. So it's going to be 50 degrees. And I'm going to go take advantage of that. Okay, so I think, I said I put these in the wrong pile. So my little 2.5 are going to go over here in the pile. You can't see it, but my real pieces. I think this is a scrap. I don't need it. I'm going to set it up here to avoid sorting later. Okay, so that should be the majority of my cutting. That's not too bad because we have so many straight cuts. And let's double check our instructions. I talked about cutting. After we cut them, we're going to gather the base pages and assemble them. And then we would add our embellishments and rub on transfers, and then you could do the cards. Okay. So we have our layouts. So for the layouts, it looks like we have a 2-page spread. 2-page, 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 and then the cards. So I like to make sure I'm on the right page to begin with. So I'm going to go ahead and let's pull the base papers for these. We could also work on pulling our pieces. I'm going to set the cards up here, and if I think it's a card piece, I'm going to throw them up on that paper. So I have 4 layouts. Let's work through this. So, and then I have my extra paper. So this one wants, for the base pages, it wants teal leather and canyon walls. So the teal leather we think was the lighter one, we hope, because that's what we cut. And the canyon walls is, we should have 2 sheets of that. We didn't touch that one. The back of that one is the stripes. So I think those are the pieces for that base. We're going to double check ourselves by pulling all the base papers and make sure it makes sense. So then there's a water texture and then copper shimmer for project 2. I kind of think this is what they're calling water shimmer. It looks like that, doesn't it? But I I don't know, we'll see. I may have messed up a piece we cut, but the teal leather. We know that one goes there. I don't know. I'm going to come back to that one. Water texture. This one is marble texture. So this is that light one. We should have 2 sheets. You can see the marbling on it. So we know that one's right. And then this is lined texture paper. So we know which one is a lined one. And then they want copper shimmer for the right. So I'm confident about these. Confident about those. This one I think we're confident about, aren't we? It looks like teal leather. I don't see this variation. Now, what do we have left? We have this one. This is the cover sheet. This is copper. So this is the only paper we have left. And one of them needs to be this, which looks like the one we cut. And then back with wood grain. Teal distressed metal. This has to be teal distressed metal, and we cut one of those. And then we have the wood grain. There's no confusing that. And then teal leather. I don't know. Well, whatever it's supposed to be, it's going to be this. If you guys see my mistake in it, well, A, it's awkward because this is live and I don't have any other paper, but B, I don't know where I messed up in the cutting because the cutting still looks right. But we'll separate the pieces and we'll see what's left. So I think what we have left is earth texture paper, and the back of it is this kind of neutral. So I'm going to sort out my pieces and see. God. And I could also decide if I did do it wrong. I mean, I could also flip these and put this there and this here. I don't know. We'll figure it out. It'll look pretty regardless. Okay, so then it wants piece F, B, and this is where I don't like the letters to me down here don't mean anything, so I have to look up here and then think, okay, which paper was this? And so I have my piles. And maybe I do this the way that you can't think through it, and that's totally fine. You can go label all of them. So A and B, and if you're not sure, you can also grab your, the cutting guide piece, but I know that A and B are these pieces. So I have my texture. A and B were both 3.5. So I want the skinnier ones. And then the other side of it is C, so it is that wider one. And then D was that skinny one. So it wants all of those little pieces anyways on that same layout. And then I need some of the leather pieces. So it wants F and E. So F and E were the big 5 inches and 3 inches. Yep. So those go there. And those are all the pieces I see. So I think this one's good. We're just not sure we have the right base paper, but we're going to go with it. Okay. And then we're going to move on to the second one. So the water texture, which I think this is teal leather, but I don't know where the other water one they think I have is. And then 1 sheet of copper shimmer. And I need piece T, J, and all of these. So it looks like T is this teal distressed metal where it said that it's the reverse side of it. So T was 3/4 inch. And I had U, which was the same, and it looks like they're using both of them. So the back side of that is that brown that they wanted. That's T and U. And then J is Copper Shimmer. And it was 1.5 inches. And then double A is a wood grain. The wood grain, that was 4.5. That one there. And then that had those mats. Somewhere, maybe I need to cut that in half still. Maybe, is this the 4x6 I didn't cut in half? No, that's not it. I'll find the mats in a minute. BB and AA. So I got the wood grain. BB is the reverse of the wood texture. Yeah, so I think the problem was I cut the water instead of the teal. Maybe? And then CC is a wood grain, 3/4 inch. That's a 1 inch. It's 3/4. So I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. And then those 2 mats, which are under here somewhere. Okay, and then I have project 3. So I'm confident in these base papers, and then it looks like I just need some strips. So the 1 inch wood tones. So JJ and KK. So yeah, this is where I messed up. So for all of you watching, if you cut with me, we screwed it up. So this is not really teal leather. This was teal leather. So mine looks like water on the back and they're flipping it. So I'm either going to have 2 wood grain or I can flip the water. It'll all look pretty, so I'm just going to go with it. And I apologize for the confusion. So if you're watching this, I'll have to put a disclaimer at the front that I cut the wrong paper. And then down here we have the other layers, H and I and K and J, which are all of these pieces right there. And those are those mats. Those are the 4x6. I would have gone up there. And then for the 4th one, it looks like I need some more strips. So M, which is copper shimmer. W and V, which were teal, so they're 4x4. So this is a 5. So that one. And then V is the long 5x11 piece, so it's this one. That one, then H and G, which are distressed metal. The 7 inch and the 5 inch. I have all these little copper pieces still. I have a few other pieces over here that I think are for the cards. And if I miss something along the way, we'll figure it out. So now I can adhere them together. So let's start with number 1. So the left side is the teal leather. The right side is the canyon walls. And they want these pieces on each side here. So it'll look like that. They do give you a little bit of a hint for adhering. So we're going to adhere E, which is this one, 1.5 inches from the outside edge, and then put these on each side. And the directions for these come on the postcard in the secret box. There's a QR code that takes you to the PDF handout you can print from Creative Memories. I think I should post the PDF link because it would link to them. So I could post that. So then we're going to adhere these on each side. So this is 1.5 inches from the edge. And C, now on C, I just have to make sure that I choose. So these are 10.5. So about 3/4 inches from the top and bottom if you want it centered. It doesn't really matter as long as you're consistent across the entire layout. If you're concerned that you will get it uneven, of course, you can always use repositional tape. You can also grab your 0 ruler if you want to make sure that you're lined up. You could always turn your paper. Use your 0 ruler and make sure that you have a consistent line all the way across. And then over here on the left side, this looks pretty centered. These were the same, this is the same. So I think I'm just going to center this centerpiece up the middle. I'm going to center my base paper on my mat first. Center that piece up the middle. And then I can adhere these on each side as long as I'm about 3/4 inches, the same as this right layout. So those are the base papers. So to finish the layout, I obviously don't have photos yet, but they're showing you the mats that they used. And the embellishments. So they are using one of the layered mats. Looks like up here they have the Great Adventure. That's the only bad thing is they don't tell you where they're pulling the pieces from. So you'll want to flip through them before you start to kind of get familiar. Here's this little life is full of wonderful adventures. So there's no more layered ones on here, and I don't have another layered frame. So then they're pulling the rest of the little pieces out of here. They have this Simply Wonderful. I mean, look at all the ones that you got in here. It is very generous embellishment pack. There's the Simple. So the Simply Wonderful is one full piece. And then it looks like they have this little sunshine tucked under the mat, Simply Wonderful. And then they have this little piece up here. Almost looks like a heart in the middle of it. Of course, if these are really my pages, I would not be doing this step yet. I would wait till I have the pictures. I don't see that one yet. So it's probably just, oh, there's the heart. No, that's the different heart. It'll pop up. So that piece is somewhere. And then over here, they have another, it looks like this over there. Oh, there's another one. So this one looks smaller. It's almost like they have a heart in the middle of that. Yeah, I think it's this. So it's this little sunshine piece. And then there's this tiny little heart. And that's where they're pulling in this embellishment. And so there should be one more of these. It's not popping out at me. So we'll come back to that one. Oh, and then they have a little banner here, the sunshine on it. There's a heart in that one. So it's this one, this little flag. Okay, and then up here they have Great Adventures. They have these little arrows. This is quite the little scavenger hunt to find all of the pieces. There's Great Adventures. So Great Adventures and the little chevron. Those pieces, this piece, that piece. And over here, Beauty is Everywhere and a chevron. This must be a rub-on. Yeah. So they have the rub-ons on these sheets. I have 3 sheets of those. And so they have, see this little corner piece? Those are, I think, are coming off the rub-ons. So I will show one of those before we come offline. I'll figure out where the best place is. I can do it without actually having photos. So I think that's all the pieces except like this little sun piece. So we'll figure out where that one pops up. The only other thing I see with like have like the sunbeam on it is this one that says congrats. I don't think that's it. Okay, well, we'll move on. So I think that's all of those pieces. So I will leave them all together so I know that's intentionally. I'm not going to glue them down, obviously, until I have my photos, but that will be a very lovely little layout. Okay, so moving on to 2. This has the water texture. So this is the one that we messed up on. I messed up on. If you cut with me, you messed up on it too. So here we go, adapting things. Our paper is actually not water texture. It is teal leather. Then I should have the long strips. So I have the darker ones, and I have the copper shimmer is J, the wood grain, and over here I actually do have the water texture. And then I have 2 mats. So these are 4x6 mats. So they're suggesting you use 4.5, 3.5 by 5.5 photos, and then the wood grain over here. So this still looks really pretty. It has a nice contrast with the teal. I mean, it looks fine. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere it down. See if they gave us any clues about, yeah, they did suggest T. So it's this one is 1 inch from the outside edge over here. And then we're just going to adhere across. You're probably right, Vicky. So Vicky's suggesting that they cut the sunshine in half. I bet that is what they did. And that's why, because we can just see 2 halves of it. So yes, I think you're right. Good idea. Always helps to do this in a group so we can figure out these things together. That sounds like something Megan and I would do. We would do that in like page makers or something to make it stretch out a little bit to more. Okay, so I am 1 inch from the left, and then I'm just going to do your bronze next to that. I'm going to overlap this just slightly so I don't see my cut edge. You do have to be careful with the shimmer papers. They show their bends easily. If you like, like sometimes our paper gets a little wrinkled or something. You can definitely see it more on the shimmer. You'll end up with a textured shimmer if you're not careful. Okay, then over here we have the wood grain. And then we'll have our photo mats. They're suggesting in their layout up here that you have another photo down here. Okay, going in here this side, and then we'll find our embellishments. So we have the copper base. And then these pieces, I'm sure this is, no, this one's right on the edge. Yeah, so I'm going to pull this over a little bit. So this wood grain will go straight down the edge of the copper shimmer. And then I do like the projects. It is nice to have things done for you. But part of the reason why people love things pre-done is so you don't have to think about it as hard, right? But I feel like when we do get cut guides that cover so many layouts, you do have to use your brain to kind of keep it all. Cut the right paper, get the right pieces sorted. And then once you're to this point, right, it's probably a little easier to chat and crop at the same time. And there's definitely times at the retreat, I just have to put my earbuds in and I see people around me do it. Like you just got to concentrate, or maybe they're watching a video. You have to tune out the room. Okay, that's pretty basic on the right side. So let's figure out their embellishments. Okay, so this one's easy. It's the wreath and making the stake count. I do love the layered embellishments. And then we have the little flag that covers that corner. We have some leaf. Here and now. Words. Some more foliage. It's not that foliage. There's a couple of foliage options and one has a direction. So this one is kind of splaying out to the left and up. This leaf tilts up here and now. And then they have this little heart, which might be a rub-on. Yeah, it's this heart down here. This would probably be an easy rub-on for me to do. Because it's in the corner. So no matter what photos I use, I could show that one. So we'll rub that one on. Then over here we have the leaf. And this is us. And then one of the frames. And then they just show photos down there. And then they do have some little rub-ons too, the arrow and whatnot. Okay, so let's play with one of the rub-ons. So I'm fine in putting these embellishments down in the corner. I know I have plenty of space left on the layout when I do get photos. I know they're trying to preserve paper. I don't let, like this layout with the 4x6, when I really do this, odds are I will cut mats a little bit larger, maybe use some cardstock, because this is a perfect spot for peekaboos. And so this will be a peekaboo page for me. And so I will want more than 4x6 to set that on. But I can find use for these papers in other ways, I'm sure. And now the here and now. Down here. And so how are we supposed to use these rub-ons? So the rub-ons, this is the first time. So if I mess up, you guys are going to see it fall off. So it has a back, they're all on a backing sheet. If you guys have any tips, let me know. So I'm pretty sure we rub from the top because it feels sticky on the back. Let's find out. If I mess it up, you'll all know. So I can see where I want the heart. And maybe I'll pick up this here and now because I could layer on top of it. Figure out where you want your spot. Let's see what happens. So if I rub it, back of the tool, I feel like I'm doing a science experiment. Lift the edge. Hey, it's working. It was working. The problem is, see, this is the problem. I was worried about this too. I think you guys can gain from my mistake. So the foiling is going to stick wherever it touches. You can see that I've like messed up a couple of the other ones. So I think it's going to be better to cut out what you want to foil while it's on this sheet and then lift it. And that way you don't lose any of your other pieces. You're not going to be able to use this full piece and move it around. So yeah, Vicky's saying Noreen cut hers. So yeah, that it would have helped too if I did Noreen. Now, so what happens if you do it like me or did it with me and you got foiling on here? You could just scrape it off. If it leaves a little bit left behind, it's just going to add some texture to your page. So let's just be some texture to my page. I don't even know where those little dots came from, but they're fine. Okay, so that's the pro tip. Now we all know. But I can just layer, you know, my here and now, I had pulled that up, so it actually works out perfectly. I could put that right there. So we could cut these out. Next time I want to put one down, I could just cut my heart into pieces, and then I'll know where to put it. Yep. So we all learned that. Cut out what you want to foil before you move your sheet. Do a lot of you have foiling? I mean, obviously Creative Memories is just bringing this back out, but do you guys have foiling from other companies? Is this something that people have still like been using over time? Or is it making a comeback everywhere? It is a pretty effect with the copper. I'm not sure that are they usually metallics too? I'm a little bit naive with the foiling. If this is primarily something you do with metallics, or if you can do regular colors or white or black. Okay, the next set of layouts. This is where I'm really going to notice that my cutting error. So I have this marbling paper, and if you look at the direction that they have, it's going across the angle there. So I'm going to follow the same way. They did a good job of like maximizing to seeing a lot of the marbling. And then they just have these pieces. I'm probably missing a couple pieces. So basically we're just going to cross layer in the corners. So whatever pieces you have, whether they're right or wrong, we're just going to layer. I think I'm going to be missing the darker ones. So I'm going to have wood grain. And I'm going to have the light. The problem, because these two were the same back-to-back papers. The other thing I could do is skip this layout and come back to it because I know I have my pile of pieces I don't need, right? And so I could go back through and say, okay, do I want to sub any of these out? So maybe I'll do that. I'll lay it out. We'll see how it looks. And I can circle back around to decide if I want to swap anything out or maybe just adapt it a little bit. And obviously I need one more strip along the way. I have a skinny one, but I'm missing one of the big ones. So we're going to come back to this one. This will be my catch-all. And then we'll move. So project 4. So this one we're confident. This is the striped paper. It was easy to pick that one out. They have a sheet of the bronze shimmer over here. We have the full layout over here. This piece, this piece. It wanted the short one, but where is this sitting on here? I need G, so G was a longer one. This one. If I go back and make sure, like what I thought this was I and J. Okay, so yeah, I have G, which is a long one. H was a short one, so this I piece does not go on this layout. So 1, 2, 3, and then 2 pieces. So that's all I need for this one. So pretty simple put together. They're suggesting that H is 3/4 inches off the bottom. This is along the edge. Yeah, it sounds like, I'm just looking at a couple comments that the rub-ons are making a comeback. It doesn't surprise me. I think Creative Memories kind of watches to see what the market's going to do and see if they can do something similar. Some of you are saying you don't trust it. It is, yeah, if it's that easy to rub on, is it going to rub off? If you're not putting protectors on your pages right away, is it going to transfer to the other side? That's for sure a risk. It would be cute on a card, but maybe you don't want to stick it in your scrapbook yet. They are overlaying this a little bit. It looks like about a little over halfway to the bottom. So I'm just going to follow the same measurements on this side. So this is about 3/4 inch off the bottom. I got to make sure my base paper is lined up first. I'm not very good at keeping tabs at what other companies put out with. I see a lot of pretty stuff people use, like, they'll use other paper or whatnot, posting in the challenges that we do or for Power Hour. And there's definitely some pretty stuff out there, but I don't keep a very good tab of like where it came from. The only thing that I have really looked for is like sports stuff. This is going to cover up quite a bit of this. I'm just debating whether I want to cover up so much of the brown or I could just like go off script and raise it a little bit. And then I'm going to have I'm going to see more of this dark color underneath. If you follow their handout, you're just seeing a little bit more at the end. But I want to see a little bit more of it. So I'm going to raise this up. Even if I want my photos lower, the photos can sit down farther, but I'm going to have more of that blue paper. And this is the wrong paper. Maybe this is the one I cut wrong because this shows the gunmetal. Goodness, you guys. I'm like a hot mess on this one. This must be the piece I cut wrong then because you can see the gunmetal on here. So if I go back and look at my cut guide, it was teal distressed metal. I don't know. You know what? It's fine. It's all fine. It looks pretty. If it's that hard to figure out, I don't think we're going to notice on the final layouts. Okay, so this one has the frame, then all the memories. Happy. There's all the memories. And it has a little bit of foliage. That has a little bit of a rub on. So then you and me. Some foliage. A leaf. It needs a little ring. Although that might be that's a foil transfer. The wreath is on that side. Then down here we have a tag. Already has the foliage on there. It has a rubbing behind it. All the memories. Okay. Well, let's practice rubbing again because I could rub this back here or I could do the wreath. If I'm going to go ahead and rub the wreath, I'm going to like do it up in the corner so that I have room for my photos. Well, let's try it when cutting it out. It's on the same one as here, so I did lose a little bit on that paper, but I can just be strategic about where I put it and can layer it behind where I want it to be. So when I do put this down, I'm going to have some foliage on top like this, and then you and me can come right over where I lost a little bit of it. So I can just kind of sit that up there in the corner. It might look a little awkward right now, but I know I will easily fill all this with pictures. I have no shortage of pictures for this vacation. And you're right, Vicki. I'm just showing the versatility in the papers because I'm sure I'm not the only one to cut paper wrong. Now, will I do class again without doing it ahead of time? Probably not. I knew that was a risk. I actually took this set with me to Megan's retreat because I was going to put it together. But then when the box was sold out, I was like, should I keep a separate box or sell it? I sold it. So I just wanted more people to be able to have the opportunity to use it. So I did not have an extra set. Lifting, making sure I have it down. It looks pretty good. So this is where I had messed it up on the other page, but I can go ahead and adhere my embellishments. We're just layering anyways. And then the you and me. I just have to make sure I'm putting you and me on this page, and now I'm taping it down. I have to make sure I'm in one of the photos on here. You and me and the kids. And that will go down there. I think that's all those pieces, so that will be really pretty. So let's go back to our final layout, the layout that's just going to get what's left. And then I have the card. So I could stop here too to make sure I pull all the card pieces. So you should have 6 3.5 by 2.5 pieces of paper. There's one. There's 2, 3. The 3 by 2. So it says I have 6 of the copper shimmer, and they're a little bit smaller. They're 3 by 2. There's 6 of those, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these. And so because I cut that wrong paper, they're not all the dark, but that's fine. And then you determine which ones you want to use together, and it shows you the sentiments and it shows you the clips. So the cards are little. And then we have these clips. So I know some people use things like this in their scrapbooks. They are going to be, they're going to put pressure on whatever you put beside them. So I'll know a lot of you will just save them for your cards. Just get the clips off. A little easier to cut that than slide it off. So here's a few of our clips. And then they're showing the pieces together. We choose a base and adhere it on there. Then you can add a sentiment, add a clip if you want. So you have to be careful about where you put your adhesive. Or you're going to push through where you put your adhesive. You go on your page like that. That would show the top. They show a little bit more of the top layer. I think if I do it the opposite way. So that's where the clips can come in. So you can use what's left to make little cards. If you do skip the clips, or maybe you're okay with it, these would be cute little journaling boxes. You could put them on your layout if you adhere them to the outside, kind of like the Power Hour layout I did, where you could adhere it to the outside and it's going to flip up and you could journal inside of there. It's not going to be under the protector, but if it's just journaling, it's fine. Even if it's just photos, it's going to be fine to do that. So that's what the majority of all these pieces are. So it doesn't show anything with long strips for the cards. So I can use whatever long things I have left over on this layout, which means I can look at some of these extra pieces I have. For the embellishments, it's using this frame, the heart, loving this, an arrow, another heart. And we have our last little layered one down there. And you kind of have an assortment left, so you could use them here. This makes me smile. A little feather. I think I got all those pieces. A little arrow goes with that one there. That arrow is part of that, and then they have a rub-in. So then these are kind of the extra pieces you can use for the cards, or go back and add them on any other layout. So this is kind of what I'm working with. This is what the embellishments were. So now we're going to freestyle our final layout. I could do all wood grain. I could pop in a little bit of copper. Or maybe run some blue up the side. I kind of like those. It gives me a little variety. It's 3 different ones, and I could decide maybe I'd put the copper on the bottom. It's a little bit darker. And the wood grain on top, or do you think the copper looks better on top, wood grain on the bottom, and then this paper gives a little bit more of the blue touch on the outside? And then I'll keep these extra pieces. So when I do go to put my photos down, I might want to add in, cut a partial piece. I could do little banner cuts with some short ones. The wood grain you could almost journal on if you used a dark pen. Okay, copper on the bottom. Cindy chimed in first, so we'll adhere that. So it looks like they are adhering about 1/2 inch or so. And they're going to weave these. And they actually have 2 side by side. I guess I do want to show you the weaves. I'd have to have 2 more so I can show you the full weave. Maybe we said copper on the bottom, wood grain, and I could do wood grain, blue. Maybe I'll do that. So when they suggest the weave, it looks like they're adhering the insides of these first and leaving the outside without tape. And then maybe adhering these, weave them, and then tape them down. So we'll see how that works. You could also use repo if you want, you think you might want to move it around a little bit. They don't leave ½ inch between them. It looks more like ½ inch or so, although I just put tape. Well, the nice thing about repo tape is you put it where you don't want it, you just rub it off. I'm gonna keep mine pretty close. It looks like about 1/8 of an inch across. And then I'm gonna do these. So when I weave, so on the outside one, they have the outside going over the top and then under the bottom. And the inside one they have going under the top on top of the bottom. So once you're confident with your pieces, your spacing, I'm a little crooked here. You can see I'm like going sideways in, but I did use repo tape. I would probably come down here at the bottom. Get that outside lined up. And then I can tell how crooked the one is next to it, which is lovely. But I already have it weaved. I have some repo tape on there so I can lift it up. And then I have a little bit more mobility in moving the strip around. And I can check my bottom. If you don't love it, just kind of lift up that repo. I gotta get myself lined up again in the corner. About ½ inch. I want this one to be about 1/8 of an inch. So once you have it where you want it, then you can kind of go back in here and lift up the edges of whatever is like coming up loose and adhere it a little bit more. So that gives us that one. So it's not quite the way the handout looks. It's still pretty. If I wanted to, I do have some of these extra pieces. I could bring in that dark color. I could skip some of the cards if I wanted to do some journaling or embellishment cluster or something with that. So then I'll repeat the same over here and weave those down. And then of course I have my stack of suggested embellishments for them. So, these layered frames can be a little bit of they take a little bit of management to use. So they are geared towards 4x6. So I have to find a photo that's actually 4x6. It can't be one that I had turned down the scale. Find one. Okay, this is not a photo I would use, but it's 4x6. So once you find a 4x6 photo, you want to use in the frame and you see that it will work. You could adhere it, but then you have to make sure, do you have it where you want it? The other thing you can do is flip it over and adhere it like this. And so the way I would do this is I would try to adhere the photo to the page. And I'm looking for my tape strips. I have some photo splits in here. I can't use a full photo split because I don't have enough space. But I could come in here and trim one, trim one in half. And then I can just squeeze this along the photo in the frame to keep it together. I just needed to keep it together well enough that I can, move it around where I want it. And then I'm going to put regular tape on the photo and adhere it down. And then I could go through, and if I don't have enough adhesive, I could do the same thing, throw some repo tape under there or somewhere to do that. So with some of these, this could probably even be a peekaboo pocket. I'm like, where's my peekaboos? I haven't unpacked all my stuff from Megan's. Well, I take that back. I've unpacked it. I haven't put it away. I don't know if I have one available, but you could probably peekaboo on top of this frame on the top side. Well, these are not empty, but this is a peekaboo. Let's see how it looks. I have a bunch of peekaboos from the trip I was working on. So I could have put this on top and peekaboo on top of the frame. You're just not going to see as much of the frame on top of your page once it's done, but it would work. It does fit like that. So that would be my suggestion to working with the frames, is that you go ahead and, cut some tape chips up or something. I would go all the way around and get it adhered. You could also, maybe use some mini tape if needed, and then you can figure out where you want it on your page. So that would be how I finish this layout. And of course, the rub-ons, my suggestion would be to wait to rub on till we really are ready to get your page protector on the page, so you don't screw them up. So that was okay. It's not ever fun to cut the wrong paper live when I don't even have another one, but the layouts are fine. I just apologize to those of you who maybe wanted it to look exactly like the layouts. And we learned about the rub-ons. Yeah, we learned how to do those. We need to cut them apart before we put them on there. So I am getting a pop-up. I don't even know if this is still live. I think it's still live. It's telling me I had content in here that's not mine. I'm not sure what they were talking about, but you're still commenting, so I think we're good. So I will post this. I will, if you have any questions about the PDF, just message me. I do not have any more boxes, but like I said, we know they did not sell out of this. So we will see what's left over probably in December when they liquidate December deals. I do not have confirmation of that. You never know. They might do something different to surprise us. But the other thing I did want to mention, though, is we talked about using this for a different collection. And I think this one is very easy. It's very adaptable to cutting paper. As long as all of your paper goes together, on a few of them you would be using the opposite sides. But this is definitely a cutting guide that would be adaptable to using for a different collection. And so maybe I would do that. Obviously I'm going to have way more pages than this for my vacation. I could choose a coordinating collection, and maybe they will hear us. They know that people love this. Maybe we'll get a similar collection that's not the same, and I could cut it and have similar layouts differently. So I will put that on my list of things to do, along with the 24 other things I have of ways to adapt and make things more versatile. It is my goal to say that every layout I do it twice. With other paper, another collection, and that way I don't have to think more than once. And now I know if I do this soon, I'm going to know, my cutting guide. I don't have any more rub-ons. I don't know. What do you guys think? So rub-ons, yay or nay? Do you want to see him do more of them? Is that something you'd like to see? Or is it kind of a one and done? You're happy trying it once and ready to move on. I do think it looks great with the copper. So like I said, if they used a different material, would it look as well as this one did when it had such texture in the papers and whatnot? So, okay, well, thank you all for joining me. Let me know how you like your box and like your layouts, and I will see you next time for Simply Scrappy, and it will probably be next Friday. I think I'm open on Friday, and I will look at my list of projects and decide what I want to share. I think it's going to be, I don't know. I don't want to say anything, so I don't want to commit. The other fun news that is coming, so those of you that shop with me through my Facebook group, we are about to launch my website. I'm so excited. Angie, my assistant, is so excited. If she didn't want to, she would probably start screaming. I mean, she's sitting over there, but she'd start laughing because I call her out. We're both so excited to get the website up. So the way it's going to work is, probably next week, by the end of next week, early next week, I'm going to start invoicing out of it. So if you're used to shopping with me and I invoice everything in PayPal, you're going to get an invoice through my website. And what I love about that is it will be connected to my inventory. And so it will have updated inventory that's not my brain. And then once I know the inventory part works, the invoicing part works, I will open up the shop so that you can all shop for yourselves and add it to the cart and check out like real like a real company and not have to rely on me to invoice and comment and all of that. So with that, and then once all of that is set up properly, my whole website itself will have a new look to it. I need to work on that a little bit more, but until I can get the shop part done, I can't focus on it. And I will be revisiting my blog. So it's funny, if you go to my website now, it's funny how life goes its various ways. So when I lost my job in 2018 and I decided to kind of resell to stretch out my severance, and then I thought I was going to sell on my website in 2019. And so I opened up my website, tessascrapbooks.com, and I thought I was going to blog and do some blogging on there. And life didn't go, it was a different direction because I got so busy. And then COVID hit. And I was like, I was just too overwhelming at the time to figure out the website is a lot of work. Facebook was easier for me to adapt to. And the blogs just fell away. I stopped doing the blog posts because I had met Megan, and then I started doing Power Hour and the virtual thing with her, and just the blog got neglected. So it's funny because the content is still there and it's so amateur. And I will leave it because I think it's great to go back and see how far I've come in the pictures, especially like the pictures of some of those blog projects are bad. I still like my projects, but the pictures are just bad. But it'll be an improvement. So I will be, my whole point in saying that is I will be revisiting the blog. And so when I do Simply Scrappy, all of this can go to the blog. So you can go and find it. So some things I will do at Simply Scrappy live, and some will probably just end up as blog post and all that. So that is finally my 2024 goal. This was my goal last year in 23. This is what I wanted to get to. And it has taken about 9 months to get the website up and launched. I have over 2,000 SKUs, which is a whole lot of products. And Angie has done an amazing job retaking most of the pictures because my early inventory pictures were not very good either. But, I mean, who knew? I mean, I just didn't know it in 5 years that it would become all of this. And I would have people volunteering to be the president of my fan club and groups of people scrapbooking and thinking that they want to watch me and not something else on YouTube. It's just funny. You never know how life will go, right? It's the way it works. Anyways, that's a lot of rambling to say that I don't know what we're doing next Friday, but I'll post something and I'll let you know. And coming in the next few weeks, you will see some changes to the website and the blog and all that. So, thank you all. I appreciate your comments too. I'm going to go back and respond to some of these when we get offline. And I hope you all have a good weekend, and I will see you next week. So bye.